Live. Welcome everybody. We're completing our next CHATTcon speaker preview with Theresa McKeon. Super excited. This is brought to you by Terra Nova. They are a platinum sponsor this year, so big shout out to them. Thank you all. And we're going to dive into a few different areas. We're going to start with what Theresa's background is, how she got into this sort of stuff, and then start talking about oh my gosh, what is it? Body language. That is the topic for today. I drew a blank real quick. So
you work too hard, Ryan.
No, I was like looking for a prompt on the thing, but it was covered up with one of my other windows. So how you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you? Thanks for having me.
No, likewise. Thank you. So let's just jump into a bit of a brief history of like how you even got into this animal human training world.
So human training, pretty much my whole life. I spent about 35 years as a high-level gymnastic coach. And I could be really strict, and everything I said they had to do because their parents were paying a lot of money and they wanted to be good.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got a horse who didn't care about any of those things, and everything I'd ever learned didn't work on him. And so I searched and searched online for something, and I found this person called Alexandra Kurland, and she did this thing with horses, and it was a clicker training, and it was supposed to be all positive and all this, which I didn't care about. I just wanted to try it. And within a few minutes, I jumped on. Yeah. So within a few minutes I had this horse, and he just kind of looked at me and said, well, why didn't you just say this before? I would have worked with you. And as soon as we had that communication, he just turned into the world's smartest horse. So he was smart the whole time. I just had to find a way to get to his smart. So, some common ground.
Yeah.
And it wasn't about the clicker or the clicker training. It was just about giving me a platform to calm myself and go, let's talk. And then take things, shaping really small things a little bit at a time. So anyway, I found out that this worked really well with my horse. Again, let me rephrase that. It worked really well with me. So yeah. I figured if I changed, I bet you I could use this technology with my gymnasts, again, because it was about my change, not theirs. They didn't have to change. I had to change.
Yeah.
And I found that I was much more likable. I wasn't as demanding. Again, I found a place where I could come to them, and I learned to ask for smaller pieces, and I learned not to blame other people when something wasn't right. I had to not blame myself, but look back, since I was the teacher. Mm-hmm. What do I change to help my learner? And that was it just blew my whole world when I went, wait a minute, why should I have to be the one to change? They're the one who wants to learn. They should be learning from me no matter how I teach. So for me to have to change was mind-blowing and difficult, and positive reinforcement and the clicker training that I found that through gave me that platform to be able to change myself. So there you go.
Nice. And how did that bridge into what's a little bit of the history of TAGteach International for anybody?
Yeah. So Joan Orr, who is the co-sponsor of this, presenting this fabulous conference. So thank you to you and Joan. Thank you so much. We kind of found it. It's kind of a long story, but we found each other online through Karen Pryor. Said you two should kind of get. She also had kids that were gymnasts, and she was did some clicker training with her dogs. And she said, yeah, of course this should work. And she was a scientist. I just went, it should work. Why aren't people listening to me? And she said, well, we should do a study. Yeah. And I just happened to be a scientist. Would you like to do a study? I could set it up. Mm-hmm. And we did that. And then we asked for other people's help. BCBAs, those who were trained in it. Jesus Rosales Ruiz was so good to us in the beginning to help us figure this stuff out. So anyway, that's how we found each other on the internet, through Karen Pryor.
That's cool. So you spoke last year, blew everybody's socks off on the first hour, getting everybody hyped and ready to go. We're expecting that again this year. I'm sure you'll do that.
Sure.
What's changed since last year? Like, what is there, new projects or anything that you've been on?
I'm just doing a lot of work with the corporate world and corporate training.
Okay.
and with factory employees who may not speak the same language as the people who are training them or the people who are work beside them
Okay.
or their managers. So how do you communicate really important things like how not to get your fingers chopped off or how not to get the food contaminated if you can't speak English or you can't speak their language. So a lot of working outside of sports and outside of the animal training world, which is great, right? We're trying to get all of this out to more than just the autism world or more than just the sports world. So
Yeah, that's cool. Do you have an example? Like, are you working internationally, or is it like different companies in the States, Canada?
yeah. The one company I work with, a factory, it's a fishing company, and they have we work up a lot in Alaska. And at their plants, they bring people in from all over the world. So there were 27 different dialects within one
Whoa.
factory, right? So no matter how many times I just said, why don't you translate the safety information? And they're like, there's some languages that we don't even know. We can't translate them, but we still have to get this information out. So that has really been a lot of fun and really challenging to go. And it's funny, and I don't mean to sound derogatory, but that's where you kind of go back to the animal training because you don't have that common verbal language with your animal.
Yeah.
So you look for that same thing. How do I break it down so much? Do I demonstrate? Do I teach them a few words? What can I do to find a common language so that we can communicate?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
great. That's insane. 27 languages. That's nuts.
Well, 27
Or
dialects.
Sorry,
Yeah.
dialects. Yeah, still functionally, that's 27
Exactly.
things that I'd have to figure out how to solve. Yeah.
Yes.
So we
Well,
wanted
and
to talk.
with each of those are cultures too, right? Not just
Yeah.
language, but culture. Don't stand me next to a female or don't stand me next to a male or all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So we wanted to talk a little bit today about just body language. I know that's one of the themes that you'll be talking about this year. So where do we start with that? Like, do you kind of have a definition or examples maybe?
Well, and it's one of the things that I want to put out there is that when I did some research for this, people have all different kinds of definitions for this. It's operant, it's responsive, it's neuro, it's this, it's that. But to me, it's anything that I can observe as the teacher or the person who has to deliver information. So if I can catch an eye dilating, right? I don't know if they actually did it on purpose or whether it was biological, but I can observe it. So that's what I'm talking about. As the teacher, can I observe something or a change in something that will give me information? And then there are lots of people out there who've been working in the FBI and all around who can say, this is what we believe that means in context and from a baseline, right?
Okay.
So I could do this and I might be cutting myself off from you, or I might just be cold.
Yeah.
So whenever I talk about, I really want to clarify that it's in context, from baseline, and in groupings, right? In groupings of behavior. But what I found was that some of those body language are the same in, say, dogs as they are in people, right? So whale eyes, lip licking, thumb tucking for dogs. You'll find humans will sometimes tuck their thumb. And it kind of means the same thing in groupings, in context, over baseline.
Huh. Like with the thumb one, what does it mean? Like, what do you run into as examples there?
It's a bit of a protection. I might be stressed. I might be tense. I might be a little protective of myself. So you start to pull things in, just like the dog might tuck his tail. People will sometimes tuck their thumb. And if you can see that, what you can say is, as a teacher, and this is all in context of delivering instructions, right? So as a teacher who's going to deliver verbal instructions to them, or even visual, I might go, he's feeling nervous, he's feeling protective. I need to make very small my instructions, slow down, give them time, whatever I think they need. So that's why I think it's important to see those things. So as a teacher, I can say, now what do I do to make them relax so that they can take those instructions?
Yeah. So are you pointing those things out to the people and using your language at all? I would assume not, right? Like, this isn't something where you're like talking about those things with them, but
to
it's just
my learner?
information. Yeah, it's information for you to react to the learner as opposed to talking to the learner about it. Is that right?
I guess it would depend on my learner. If I was really close to them, I can go, wow, I just saw you tense up. Let me back off. What can I do? But I think with a lot of learners that I work with, I don't know them very well right now. So I'll just use that as information.
And
And then
it's a little
sorry.
antithetical to the TAGteach approach too, right? To be like adding more words in there too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I may even 5 words may be too much, right? I may just
Yeah.
need to go, we need to stop for a little while, or I'll physically back away when I deliver those 5 words, or I'll turn
Okay.
my body sideways. So I'm not like, hey, you know, somebody once told me that my eye color bothered them. It was while I was in
That's,
Japan or somewhere, and they said, it feels like you're screaming at me. And I went, why? And she said, I'm not used to blue eyes. It feels like you're yelling.
yeah.
So even just turning slightly away and looking away as I give you instruction may allow you to focus in on my words.
Yeah. That's crazy. Cool. So these projects, like maybe we can walk out an animal example. Like, is there one that you've been working on lately for the animal training community to understand, like how this body language works and how they might be able to use it?
Well, again, when I'm working with a human who's working with an animal, the first thing I have to do is take away their animal, because everybody wants to get right to it. Show me what to do with my animal. So the first body language thing I do is take away their animal, and they go, oh, because now I'm not risking my animal's health.
Okay.
If I screw up, people don't want to hurt their animals, and they feel like if they do something wrong and they don't quite understand what I'm saying, they could hurt their animal.
Okay.
So I just take that away, give them a stuffed animal or whatever I can do to let them train.
And just practice those things in isolation first.
Yes, get a little bit of fluency going on so that they feel that when they now have to have an entire, I mean, the amount of stimuli that comes in from that animal, right? I'm going to do something, but then I have to watch if they're going to do something back. The dynamics just 100-fold. So why would I have them do something new that they can't remember how to do and are still focusing on, and have to deal with the stimuli coming and the communication coming from another animal?
Yeah.
And for people like me who work with horses, I could really get hurt if I misinterpret that.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So the body language specifically, is that something that you're working on? So you kind of step back. Is the body language, or these common ones that you're seeing, is that something you're starting to teach as well? Like at some point you're like, hey, like these are the things to be looking for when you're working with certain species?
That's a good question. Do I do?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because when I see it, what I start to teach them then is what they do. Do I back off? Do I turn? Do I do all these other things to deliver that information? So
Nice.
yes, as a matter of fact, that's a good observation.
I'm always interested in how these things work, like where you pause your own behavior versus not as the instructor, right? When you're working with humans like that, because you're trying to teach them when to pause and work with the stuffed animal versus the animal, right? Like you got to sort those decisions out, but you also have to make the decision of when to make those decisions, right? So it just seems like it's very difficult to, I guess, it's not like a very easy, clear step-by-step thing. It seems like for human trainers that are working with trainers of animals. Does that make sense?
Yes.
It's very meta.
Yes. So we absolutely do a drill that helps the instructor start to make decisions based on what they see, right? So we'll give them an A, a B, an A, a B. Well, now what do I do for that? In fact, I think I may be doing that at the conference. I think it's when you can sit in your seats and do.
Yeah.
And I don't think we train that very often. We don't train people to make a decision. So if you're training a dog to sit and he doesn't sit quite right, now what do you do? All I know is that I had to give this cue or I had to do this, but I didn't do it. Now what? So that's the decision making is on the teacher's part, and that is a skill that needs to be learned. We don't just automatically come with that.
How do you teach that, like when you're working with people in an auditorium like that?
I can't tell you.
So I was seeing if I could pull it out for everybody watching on the stream. We're planning on a Friday night session of you doing some of this. I don't know if this has been communicated to you, but
I just read it yesterday.
Yeah, we're pulling this exercise in. It should be fun. So if anybody can show up early, Friday night, details are coming if they're not quite up on the website yet, of a little bit of a hands-on activity, which I'm excited for. really excited for.
Yeah, we'll be doing that particular learning to teach decision making.
Yeah.
Because when we're working in corporate America, everybody wants to teach soft skills. And by the time we try to explain them to them, the soft skill is just a hard skill that we've broken down into pieces, right? I want them
Okay.
to be more creative. Well, what are the steps in being more creative? You can do that if you really stop and break them down. I mean, how do you teach a gorilla to do the things they do, or some of the amazing tricks and things and behaviors that people teach animals? Blows my mind how far down they started. Well, you can do
Yeah.
that with creativity and things like that as well.
Yeah, I'll have to link the creativity in a Pigeon article from like years and years and years and years ago.
Yes.
That's a cool one of like the problem solving creativity that goes on. The soft skills has been a really important thing. We presented a few weeks ago in Chicago about there's a lot of people in the human training world that are looking for more training. As like an employee, you're looking for more training. As an employer, you want to have the best trained staff. Typically, I assume most people in good faith like want to have fantastic employees, but there's a budget perception or budget constraint that as to how much resources you can put into training. And there's some really cool work out of MIT where they're looking at the return on investment for soft skills. And it was particularly they were looking in a few industries, but they were looking really closely at computer programming and those sort of tech roles, because the question was like, if we provide this training, like what are we getting out of it? And it was showing some really good return on investment. So
Who did it? Who was doing that?
there was I believe I will find the link. It was a very large, it's one of those articles where I feel like there was 50 people cited because there was so much cross collaboration going on. So they were looking at a few different sites and businesses, whether or not it was returning. And I think it's pretty exciting when it comes out of a strong institute like that, but also it was a solid design showing like you do get a return when you work on these sort of things. So
Wow.
I've been trying to arm younger practitioners with like, hey, show your managers this. Like you can't change things overnight organizationally, right? But you can break down those skills, like you're saying, and you can teach them. And on the business side, it helps you.
Yeah.
It helps you. So that's cool. It's exciting. The soft skills is just like I said, it's like a huge topic as to like how do we train the most effective leaders for behavior analysts, and what are those skill sets? And a lot of people talk about them as these things that maybe you can't break down, but it's like you were saying, it's like, no, you can totally break these things down. We just need to figure out what we're talking about when we say leadership or creativity.
Yeah, people say, well, I don't know, I've just been doing it for so long. It's 25 years of experience. But now people are going, I don't have 25 years for you to get experienced in all of these things. How can I ramp that training up to 2 weeks or 6 months, but not 25 years? But the one thing I find over and over again that we're missing in the business world, well, in the adult world, is repetition. Right.
Okay.
And for those who are in precision teaching, I need to get more into that so I can keep track of my repetition. But we say things like, great, and then move on, instead of great, again, so that you can do it when other stressors happen on there. So if there's one thing I would say is if we could get adults to learn to be accepting of repetition as they're learning.
Yeah, it's weird sometimes where the lines are drawn on that. Like I feel like sometimes it's totally expected. Like no one would disagree that like Michael Jordan or whoever like was not supposed to be practicing over and over and over again on certain things. Like I feel like in sports, right? Like it's kind of agreed that you need to practice this like crazy. But in other areas of life, it's like, oh no, you should just be expected after we showed you once.
Why? Yeah, why? Because
Right?
we're afraid that they're going to, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Fluency is a fascinating topic. We'll have to link if anybody's interested. There's a really good article actually by last year's speaker that was there, Carl Binder, talking about just fluency. What is it, and what has it provided us? It's fantastic. I like how you all blend that with, y'all were blending that with like really complex skills too, with the surgeons, right?
Yeah.
And the work that was being done with TAGteach and surgeons.
Yeah. And it's a problem. The attitude is, why? You think I can't do this? Well, you
Yeah.
might be able to do it, but can you do it when an artery, blows and there's coating on the table?
Yeah.
So that attitude really needs to change, and that's going to come from how we treat our students.
So we have a question here from Maggie asking us to define soft skills and examples. Um, do you have any definition of soft skills? I don't have a perfect operational definition of soft skills. So my understanding of looking into this is that it's becoming a verbally like hot topic in the behavior analytic community at conferences, but it's yet to be systematically approached within our field. So the colloquial term that most people I see using, and this is like pulling off of Facebook, Wikipedia, other journals that are in psychology that don't operate like we do, is they're just talking about those skills that aren't the explicitly taught skills. So they usually are always defined by examples, which is like not a great thing to do with science, but it's they talk about leadership, creativity,
Problem solving.
teamwork, problem solving.
I need them to problem solve. They can't problem solve. What do you mean by problem solve? Do you?
Yeah. So I'll make sure to link the MIT one that I think has a little bit of a better definition going on, but it's not super clear, I would say, Maggie. And then Vicky also commented in, she said, Theresa, I'll give you access to my basic CLM fluency units to get you started.
Basic, say again, the what?
So Vicky has it's the competent learner
Vicky, yeah.
model. Yeah, but she has some fluency units that she developed. So she said she'll share that if you're interested.
Yes, thank you, Vicky.
We do have a comment on your purple shirt. It's actually navy apparently, but the camera is doing some weird stuff.
I mean, it is as dark navy. It is as dark navy. It's almost black. So it's that blue dress, gray dress thing going on here. I don't know what the story is. I'm sorry.
It's right.
It's not purple hair either. It's just.
Stacy's loving the purple vibe though.
Okay. It's like I got purple makeup on and everything. Look at the purple hair.
I know, it's nuts, right? So can you give us a few words around like what your presentation is going to be on there? So we have the topic here.
Yeah.
Lip licking, whale eye, and other important human behaviors.
Yeah.
I think you might have the most creative and fun title out of everybody this year.
So because I work with a lot of dog trainers, one of the things that they have taught me to look for in body language is lip licking. A whale eye is when the eye goes big, they're looking this way, but the eye gets real big, and they all mean something. Again, in context, in groupings from baseline. But if you can understand those things, you can really read what the learner might not be verbally telling you. And again, humans whale eye, they lip lick. I have examples of all of those in video, so we can take a look at them, and you will start to be amazed. No, I don't want to give too much away. You'll start to be amazed. It's not just the old, are they crossing their arms and kind of things. They're very small things that they may not even be aware of, because humans lie. You say, do you understand? And they go, yes, I understand. And inside they're going, I don't know what she said. I'll go home and Google it.
Yeah.
So, but you might be able to see did they tuck their thumb? Are they doing some of these other things that tell them they didn't understand? Do it again.
We have thank you. We have another question from Stacy. Said, did you know that whale trainers call that same look bug eye? I don't know what bug trainers call it.
No, bug eye. Isn't that funny? We go from the big eye that's a bug eye to the small eye that's a whale eye. That's good.
Yeah. Cool.
But that's that whole convergence thing. We can. It's all there together. We can learn from us all.
Yeah.
Although there'll be very little technology, so you're going to have to help us out with that.
Yeah.
I could do the animal and the human, but not so much the technology.
Yeah, we're building it there. I think like we had some fun discussions with Joe. If anybody's streaming in and missed the one a couple days ago with Joe Lang, we talked technology there. We'll have 3 or 4 others that are going to be presenting there or in the Friday night like Ignite sessions. But technology, I don't know. it's kind of missing from the behavior analytic world quite a bit. Like it's there, but it's not leveraged as much as it needs to. So I think we're going to see a lot more of that happening
You
over the
know,
next like 3-5 years.
we're going to have to, because there's just so much more need for it. And I believe it was one of your podcasts where you were talking about we just can't get it out there.
Yeah, you can't train one-on-one fast enough and scale.
Right. So
It's
some of
just
this
not
VR
possible.
stuff that I absolutely was like, I will never do. I'm like,
Yeah.
to your point, I think you made such a great point on that we have to help other people. It may not
Yeah.
be as perfect as one-on-one in live, but maybe better than nothing.
Yeah, for behavior analysts, like the population we're working with a lot with autism spectrum disorder, if you run the numbers in the States at 59, 1 out of 59 children, and you try to look at how many the BACB is certifying and that total number, it will never match the caseload that we're supposed to be having according to our standards. Like
Yeah.
we won't meet that. We'll cap out as a profession before we meet the demand, and that's just one diagnosis, right? And one type of socially significant issue that like we're working on. That's not talking about any of the animal training world, any of the corporate human training world. So it kind of baffles me. Yeah, Joan just mentioned that the Behavior Me team is going to be talking about virtual reality, augmented reality, and such. I got to sample the virtual reality stuff of theirs a couple of weeks ago, and I have a video coming out on Wednesday with a little sample included to excite people as to what's going on. It's really cool. I feel like you're like in a Pixar movie when you put it on, but you interact with it as well.
Does it make you dizzy?
It does not make me dizzy. The training simulation doesn't move fast that they develop, so I would be surprised if the training simulation made you dizzy. And I watched them go through 100 people in like a couple hours that were sampling it, and nobody reported that sort of stuff. It does make a portion of the population dizzy, just like VR itself. Their simulation, I didn't see that, but what was it? We were playing totally different games on the new Oculus headset last night, a group of some of us with Behavior Me. And it didn't make anybody sick, but after like 30 minutes, people are kind of like, yo, I've been in this a long time. But I could live in that thing. I'm like, I'm ready. I'm ready to go. Like I played, I think for an hour straight. And no symptoms for me. There's a lot of interesting things. Like the one that we were playing, you had to make sure that you had set your height and your pupil distance correctly. So it's kind of, it matters. Like the little things really matter that you wouldn't necessarily think of. But like you adjust your pupil distance to make sure that the masks or the goggles know like, so you can set it to like what your pupil distance is, since that changes for everybody. And then your height, like if your height was off, say you were trying it, I'm 6'3", almost 6'4", but if I give it to my brother that's just a couple inches lower than me, it does need to be readjusted. So there's things like that where I think it, if you're doing it properly, it reduces a lot of those symptoms that may be reported.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, they're going to bring, Joan mentioned, they're going to bring a couple headsets to the conference. They're a blast. They're so much fun.
I can't wait.
Yeah, so if anyone wants to see like a little flash of like what they've developed, as well as hear their pitch and what they're doing, Wednesday, there's going to be a video coming out on the Daily BA channel. So I'm pretty excited about it. Just finished it this morning, and I paused the exporting so that I could hop with you on this live real quick.
Oh no, that's dangerous. That's a great honor. That is a great honor.
So yeah, I think, I don't know, I don't have any last questions. Is there any closing words of wisdom? Anything you're super excited about you want to leave people with?
So one thing they could do is start to watch actors who they really love, who are like, oh my gosh, I really feel like they're not acting, and see what it is they're doing, because they are not really upset. They are not really in love. They are not really these things. But what are these little things that they're doing that make you believe that? And that's kind of a fun game to play.
There's also a method acting behavior analysis article that I will find. So I need to find that. That's super exciting. Cool.
Yeah.
We do have to do a quick shout out for Sean Pogston.
Happy birthday.
It's his birthday. Congratulations. Hope it's all well.
You made it to another one, Sean. Well done.
All right, cool. We'll wrap up there. Again, y'all, the event, I think we're at 5 weeks, closing in on 4. Our sponsors, Terra Nova, they're the ones that are bringing these to you. Thank you so much. And super excited. The event's 19th to the 21st. We are in Seattle, but we're also live. So hit the like, hit the hearts, hit the share button if you're into it. It actually makes a difference and helps us break through these algorithms. And we'll see you all. I don't know if we have another live stream scheduled. We'll see what's going on. Theresa, you can stay on.
Okay, thanks, Ryan.
Okay, thank you. All right, say